of all being racist.
Another police officer shot dead, this time in Los Angeles, as the homicide rate in America goes through the roof. We will have a special report.
My friends, we did it. We weren't just marking time. We made a difference.
I just need a chance to speak to the people. Standing next to Jimmy Carter. I can do this. I know I can.
Also ahead, I'm in Washington for the premiere of the movie Killing Reagan, which you can see on October 16th. We'll talk with the actor playing President Reagan.
Reagan was the tonic this country needed.
Caution. You are about to enter the no-spin zone from D.C. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly reporting tonight from Washington. Thanks for watching us. We are keeping close watch on Hurricane Matthew, and we will have 2 updates on the Factor this evening for you. The media delights in overhyping these storms, but they are dangerous, so we'll bring you the facts. But first, the Talking Points memo. Will a major scandal erupt in the Department of Justice? Many Americans, including this one, now believe the fix was in, regarding investigations into the IRS hammering some right-wing groups and the Clinton email fiasco. Evidence mounting that the FBI did not behave properly while looking at Secretary Clinton and her staff. There are 2 more articles about that today in the Wall Street Journal. The crux of the matter is this.
Doesn't it concern you as an investigator that your chiefs in the Justice Department decided to become an immunity-producing machine for many people who would have been very key witnesses should there have been a prosecution?
I don't think of it that way. Doesn't strike me there was a lot of immunity issued in this case.
Now, Director Comey's statement is strange, to say the least.
These 5 immunity deals are very baffling. I mean, it's like playing a game of tag and nobody's it. It makes for a rather boring game when you give out immunity to people like Cheryl Mills. And her immunity deal just, I find it perplexing.
Cheryl Mills is Hillary Clinton's lawyer and was one of her top advisors at the State Department. Now, we don't try cases on TV here, but the FBI and the Justice Department have a lot of explaining to do on the email front. Same thing happened back in 2013 when an IRS boss, Lois Lerner, was accused of illegally targeting conservative groups for audits. Lerner took the fifth in the case and was never really held legally accountable. Something then Attorney General Eric Holder refused to explain.
When did you interview Lois Lerner? Where did the interview take place? Who was the personnel who conducted the interview at the Justice Department? And at any time during the interview, did she exercise her Fifth Amendment rights and refuse to answer questions?
Because this is an ongoing matter, I'm not going to answer those questions.
You can't answer. Well, let me ask you this. Did you interview Lois Lerner?
As I said, this is an ongoing matter, and I'm not going to comment on an ongoing matter.
Mr. Holder never clarified the situation to the American people, something he was honor-bound to do. But President Obama did make a statement when I asked him about the IRS deal. You're saying no corruption?
No.
None?
No. There were some boneheaded decisions out of a local office.
Mass corruption?
Not even mass corruption, not even a smidgen of corruption on this thing.
Talking Points believes there is now enough evidence of corruption in the Justice Department that an independent prosecutor should be appointed. We all know Mr. Obama is not going to do that, but he should. We need honest government. And that's a memo. Now for the top story reaction. Joining us from Nashville, Tennessee, Jay Sekulow, who represents some of the groups targeted by the IRS. And here in Washington, Chris Fideli from Judicial Watch. Mr. Fideli, begin with you. From the beginning, I supported Director Comey. I thought he would do an honest investigation of the email fiasco. Now, I do not believe the investigation was honest for a number of reasons. You have been trying through your organization, Judicial Watch, to pry the information out of the government, correct?
Right. Yeah.
How is that struggle going?
The struggle continues. It's slow, grinding those FOIA lawsuits out in federal court. The courts have moved pretty fast when you consider when we find out about these lawsuits and what's happened since then. 2 federal judges have looked at this out of the many lawsuits we filed and say, yeah, it looks like Secretary Clinton was evading FOIA here, therefore we're going to allow you to take discovery. That's a pretty big thing. Rarely happens. They have two different federal judges. We're talking one Republican and one Democrat. Both have said the same thing. Looks that way. So yeah, we're moving along. We keep going.
Okay, now the folks don't want to be really bogged down in minutia.
Sure.
What is the end game for Judicial Watch? What do you think really happened?
We think, without question, Secretary Clinton purposely evaded the Freedom of Information Act with this server. It was designed for privacy, to keep things private, and some of those things were federal government records that belong to the people. So you got an intentional evasion of FOIA. Will there be consequences? Absolutely. There will be consequences in federal courts. There will be penalties.
Believe if elected president that Hillary Clinton's going to have to deal with this down the road?
Whether her or her attorneys, this is going to keep going. Yeah, this is not going to stop.
Now, Mr. Sekulow, you're still involved with the IRS thing, and did I misstate anything? Lois Lerner just walked away. Nothing happened to her, right?
Well, she did walk away, but Bill, we filed a lawsuit in this case, and we just got an opinion from the U.S. Court of Appeals from the District of Columbia, which is right under the Supreme Court of the United States, and a unanimous opinion, and the court held that not only will our lawsuit proceed, that ongoing violations violate both statutory and constitutional law here. So this idea, when the president said to you not a smidgen of corruption, it was what do you call it, a boneheaded move in a local office, we have the actual emails where this was directed from Washington, D.C., signed by Lois Lerner, and also copies, by the way, to the Chief Counsel's Office of the IRS. So this goes much harder than Lois Lerner, and the president was incorrect when he told you that.
I want to ask you the same question I asked Chris.
Yeah.
Do you think Lois Lerner is going to be in cuffs? Do you think they're going to have to arrest her down the road? Is that what you've got?
I don't think they'll do that. We are filing a civil suit, so we don't have the authority. Only the government can bring a criminal case. So this is a civil suit. What we're doing is making the government do its job under the Internal Revenue Code, which is to review these applications and approve them or not. Bill, we've got one client that is now waiting 7 years. And I've got another case involved in this lawsuit. I'm holding the opinion in my hand here where we won this, where the IRS, as early as yesterday, said they had not received a file when I've got the receipt from Federal Express being delivered to the IRS.
I don't think anybody's going to dispute. So this, but again, we want to cut to the chase because we're going right. Mr. Fedeli, do you believe that ultimately Hillary Clinton is going to be found guilty of some kind of crime?
Crime, no. I do not believe that's going to happen. I think civil liability, we have a very
But what does that mean, civil liability?
Civil liability means fines. It means short of jail. It means fines. It means
fines.
Yeah. Whether it's
so you believe that the woman's going to have to pay a fine?
I think it would probably be paid through the State Department, the agency she headed.
Do you believe that Comey is corrupt?
I think he's a political animal.
Okay.
Is what I think.
So politics there. Yeah. Do you believe Holder is corrupt?
Yeah, I'd say that the corruption existed at his agency, and he's responsible for it. So yeah.
Loretta Lynch.
There's not a worse decision I've ever seen. Well, I don't want to say the worst, but meeting with Bill Clinton on the tarmac about the horrible.
All right, Jay. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Do you believe Director Comey is corrupt?
I believe Director Comey is negligent, malfeasance. Corrupt is a tough standard, but Bill, I believe he needs to go. He's embarrassed the agency. He's embarrassed the Department of Justice.
Do you believe that Eric Holder was corrupt?
I believe Eric Holder never meant a word he said, and he was the one who said it may well be criminal what the IRS did, and then he produced what was basically a faux investigation, so he did not live up to his constitutional obligation.
And what about Loretta Lynch?
Inexcusable that she met with the President of the United States, whose wife was going to be interviewed by her agency on the Saturday, goes on the private airplane, and 2 days later, the case is not brought.
All right.
And that part of these agreements did not allow evidence to be reviewed. That's absurd, Bill.
You both would not object to an independent prosecutor, which is what should happen here in both cases,
Correct.
right?
I think you're right.
No objection.
Okay. Yep. All right, gentlemen, thank you. One footnote, Mr. Sekulow has a book out called Unholy Alliance about the Iran situation. Next on the rundown, another police officer shot dead, this time in Los Angeles, even as Trump and Clinton battle it out over law and order. We'll bring you up to date. Then later, Bernie Goldberg on the upcoming debate moderators. Can they possibly be fair to Donald Trump? Those reports up ahead as we continue from Washington.
Tonight that Matthew was killed 260 in Haiti. Now it approaches the east coast of Florida. Rain and wind already battering that state. Where it makes landfall, when it makes landfall, we do not know. Governors in 3 states now urging millions to leave their homes along and near the coast. And meteorologist Rick Wright following it now in the Fox Weather Center. Rick, good evening to you. Conditions at this hour are what?
They're getting worse because it's getting closer to the storm, and we don't know when and if it makes landfall because it's going to be moving parallel to the coastline, which means it's a lot more real estate for it to do damage to as it moves up the Florida coastline. Center of it there is just at this kind of northern tip here, just around Freeport. Freeport in Bahamas has been hammered for about the last hour right inside the eye wall. 48-mile-an-hour winds now in West Palm Beach. That's tropical storm force. But take a look at this. A couple of eye walls right here, and we're starting to see the center one maybe collapse on itself a little bit. Because of that, the sustained winds have weakened a little bit down to 130 miles an hour. Don't be fooled by that. We'll likely see maybe a tightening again of it, and it actually just pushes the wind field out a little bit more. I will tell you, West Palm Beach right there, this eye wall is 25 miles away, and as this gets on, there are likely winds in excess of 100 miles an hour with this one. So get ready for this to be moving on shore as the storm pulls off towards the northwest. This is a future radar of it. Get an idea. We're going to watch this rake the entire coastline overnight tonight, the Georgia coastline, the South Carolina coastline, and Bill, we might be talking about a hurricane on our U.S. shores for 40 hours.
It's remarkable. Rick, thank you. We're going to have a long night together. Thanks, Rick. I'm Bill Hemmer. Another update in 30 minutes. And tonight's special programming live at 11 o'clock Eastern Time. We will have everything for you then and throughout the night here. Now back to the O'Reilly Factor. We'll see you real soon.
Factor follow-up segment tonight. Yet another police officer has been shot dead in the line of duty. 53-year-old Steve Owen, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Sergeant, killed by a man who was holding 2 teenagers hostage. The Washington Post reporting that the arrested suspect is an adult black male. So once again, we have a police killing with a possible racial component. Now, yesterday, Donald Trump said this in Nevada.
The homicide rate last year experienced the biggest single-year increase in more than 45 years. Does anybody know that? Biggest increase in homicide in 45 years. Our police are underfunded, understaffed, and undersupported. And Hillary Clinton basically accuses our police of all being racist.
Now, on the stat, Mr. Trump was close. The homicide rate in the USA has had the biggest increase in 44 years. Joining us now from New York City, Joe Sweeney, former New York City police detective who supports Hillary Clinton. And from Los Angeles, the sheriff of Milwaukee County, Wisconsin, David Clark. So, Sheriff, why is the homicide rate jumping?
For a number of reasons, but I think recently it is this Ferguson effect that was coined by Heather McDonald, a researcher at the Manhattan Institute, where police are engaging in less assertive policing. That's the best policing there is to identify perpetrators, people wanted on serious felony warrants, people who are armed, people who are selling illegal drugs. And I think that there is a direct connection between less assertive policing and the rising crime rate. 17% murders up in the 50 largest cities in America. That's staggering, Bill. I find it unfathomable that Mrs. Bill Clinton running for president of the United States is whistling past the graveyard of the bodies that are piling up. And the overwhelming majority of these people killed in these murders in these great cities like Baltimore, Chicago, Milwaukee, New York, it's up as well, are good law-abiding black people. Okay, now, Detective Sweeney, why do you think the homicide rate is rising?
Well, I think, Bill, that there are many factors when crime goes up. You can't just point to one thing. And I wouldn't dismiss the fact that there is an effect on anti-police sentiment causing crime to go up in less assertive policing. But the reality is, even if that is true, you have to solve the problem. And there's no way to solve it by just saying, I support the police. You have to be engaged in the community.
All right, well, give me one reason why you think Hillary Clinton is the best candidate to solve the murder and crime problem. Just one reason.
Well, I think her commitment to funding training. She's going to put $1 billion into the budget for police training, and I think that will go a long way in solving the problem.
Okay, Sheriff, why is Donald Trump, in your opinion, the best candidate to solve the law and order problem?
Well, one of the reasons, I think, is that he's put the spotlight on it. Look, this is a dirty little secret in America, the carnage that's going on in these great American cities in the American ghetto. Mrs. Bill Clinton refused to even fill out an application for police support, the Fraternal Order of Police that did endorse Donald Trump. She didn't even fill it out. Look, her husband, when he received the support of the endorsement of the FOP back when he ran, he was like a kid in a candy store, he was real excited, had a press conference, surrounded himself with members of the FOP, and said, together we have to fight crime in America. It's kind of funny that we had crime on the run during the late 80s, all through the 90s, and the early part of the 2000s, where we had record levels of decreased crime. In other words, we already were doing it. We knew what we were doing. The only thing that's different now is police are less assertive.
All right, now, I'm going to give you the last word, Mr. Sweeney. There are some people that are skeptical of Hillary Clinton in the law enforcement range because she has taken some shots at the cops by saying, hey, look, we have a problem here with the police. Maybe they're not as sensitive as they should be. And that has not played well in some of the police organizations like the Fraternal Order. You say?
Well, I can understand why it would be enticing to take, to back somebody like Donald Trump, who just comes out and says, I support the police, I'm the law and order candidate. But law and order without compassion for your community isn't going to solve the problem. And I think, you've seen Hillary Clinton get together with leaders of law enforcement. They did it here in New York, and also try and reach out to the communities. That's where the problem's going to be solved. It's not in picking sides.
Okay. All right, guys, good debate. We really appreciate you coming on. Next on the rundown, voter fraud in Virginia, right down the street here. Story you might not know about. Then Bernie Goldberg on whether the two debate moderators this coming Sunday can be fair to Trump. Moments away. An interesting story out of Harrisonburg, Virginia, about 130 miles southwest of Washington. Apparently, a student at James Madison University was registering dead people to vote. Joining us now from New York City, Eric Shawn. Here in Washington, Shannon Bream, our True Serum correspondent. So this is like the Walking Dead to the polls, right?
About 20 of them, apparently.
20? So one kid registered 20 dead people to vote in that county.
Yeah, he was part of this group called Harrisonburg Votes. It's run by a former mayor, a Democrat, although they say they're a nonpartisan group. And apparently this college student had signed up about 20 people, and the only way they caught him is there was an employee in the registrar's office who recognized one of the names and said, wait a minute, this guy is actually the father of a prominent judge here. I know he's dead. And that's how they caught him.
So it was luck. So the registrar saw a name and knew the guy is deceased and flagged it. All right. How did they trace it back to the kid?
Well, they went back to see who had signed these people up, and apparently this kid's name was linked to them. They say he's been fired from the group. At our last check.
I don't care about the group, but so I thought when you registered to vote, at least in my county, you yourself had to go down and register. This kid was registering other people?
Yeah, and he was apparently filling out forms, and some of these people were not alive, and he was putting their names on.
And he was just sending the forms in?
They were coming in through this group. Now, the registrar said if you send in a registration that has someone's correct name and address, but the wrong social security number, even that won't be caught. So like you said, this was total luck and happenstance.
So it was done by mail then. This kid was sending his stuff in by mail, registering these people, and then if he got a thing back, you're registered, then he can go and vote 20 times.
That's true. Now, we don't know if that's happened. We know the FBI is investigating. We know the local police and other authorities are. So far as we know, the kid's not been charged with anything.
All right. Well, the overarching point is that a lot of people say there is no voter fraud, but this proved that there is and could happen on a mass level. All right. Shannon Bream. All right. Now we go to you, Eric. Mayor de Blasio. Now, I know most people don't care about what happens in New York City, but when you're under investigation for 6 different things, this and most liberal mayor in the country, 6 different things. What are the odds that this guy's going to jail? What are they after him for?
Well, he started something, Bill, called the Campaign for One New York, which is a nonprofit political group to spread his progressive agenda. Now, there are, you're right, 6 separate investigations of this from the FBI, the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Joint Commission on Ethics in New York just issued a subpoena to his office, trying to get all of his emails and correspondence about this group. The chief law enforcement officer of the Board of Elections of the state says that campaign laws were violated and there needs to be criminal prosecutions.
Is it about money? Is that what? Is there money being moved around where it shouldn't be?
Allegedly, this group raised money from lobbyists and businessmen and others, and they, in turn, it is alleged, potentially got these type of favors.
Okay, so they raised money for the mayor, and then the mayor gave them favors back,
well,
like
they
in a
raised
bribery scheme.
They raised money for the group to spread his agenda, and those who gave money supposedly then were helped. There's one guy, has to do with mint garbage bags. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
He tried to sell mint scented garbage bags in New York City for years because you got a rat problem, rats don't like mints, that's why, but the city never bought his bags. His name is Joseph Dusich, he's out in Queens. So Mr. Dusich gives $50,000 in 2014 to this group. He gives another $50 grand last year, and guess what? 10 days later, he's sitting in the mayor's office talking about mint-flavored garbage bags with the mayor.
And that's a big contract.
Yeah, well, they started a trial contract for just $15,000, but now there's a $6 million contract with another company. With another company for these garbage bags. His lawyer, I talked to his lawyer, he said he didn't expect any quid pro quo, but he says the garbage bags do work, but this is something that's being investigated.
All right. Very interesting, guys. Thank you very much. Plenty more ahead. Factor moves along from Washington this evening. We'll talk with the actor who plays President Reagan in the upcoming film Killing Reagan, Tim Matheson, doing an excellent job. Also, Bernie Goldberg on whether the two debate moderators on Sunday will do an excellent job. And we hope you stay tuned for those reports. So, story segment tonight, texting. As you may know, I'm not a big fan of the devices, which I call machines. Millions of people all over the world now addicted to them. That's causing a myriad of unintended consequences, including traffic deaths. For the first half of 2016, U.S. traffic fatalities on the road were up more than 10%. Almost 18,000 people died in this country, just in the first half of the year. While drunk driving is the big culprit, the use of smartphones by drivers becoming a major problem, especially among younger Americans. Joining us out in Boston, Karen Ruskin, a psychotherapist. So, doctor, let's deal with the texting addiction first. Am I overstating this?
You are not overstating this. I am seeing a compulsion, a need, a yearning to connect with others. In essence, this device has become a vessel, and it has become people's everything. Whether you're connecting with a friend, whether you're checking your Facebook status, whether you're putting something on Twitter, whether you're talking to a family member, whether you're sending an email, whether you're making a phone call, whether you're looking for what the next new item is to wear, what the discount is, this device has become an appendage, a must-have now, as though it's urgent, a need to respond with urgency.
Okay, now, what happens when the device breaks or some kid gets punished and the parent takes it away? Is there a visceral reaction?
Right. I have seen more and more families coming in because of the stress related to the family relationship dynamic when the technology, the cell phone, is involved. Kids get emotionally upset. I'm seeing anxiety reaction. I'm seeing family members who are accusing their parents or their child or their teen of being, in essence, a text addict or a phone addict. They are hooked on phone, and people become defensive. No, I'm not. Literally, as they're looking on their phone. I'm not texting. I'm not doing it. This has become a serious problem. Okay, denial,
and then
addiction.
By extension, if you're in the car and you hear the thing ping or vibrate, then you reach to find out what's happening because you can't wait to 10 minutes till you get to the 7-Eleven in the parking lot.
That's right. Can't wait. Have to see it now. Must look. Must know. Who's texting me? What's happening? That is the concern. Because if you're responding in that jerky movement, I have to look here, I have to look now, whether you're driving or whether you're even walking. Heck, on my way to drop off my son at school, I see teenagers walking to school with their face in their phone. There's no awareness of what's going on around you. And it's not just teens. It's not just millennials. It's adults.
It is. It's becoming an overwhelming problem that very few people acknowledge. Doctor, we appreciate your expertise. Thank you. We come right back. Bernie Goldberg on whether the debate moderators can be fair to Donald Trump this coming Sunday evening. Bernie is next.
Fox News Weather Alert and good evening. I'm Bill Hemmer. Once again, Matthew, a powerful Cat 4 hurricane. It is being felt up and down the east coast of Florida. 130-mile-an-hour winds expected to batter that state later tonight, early Friday morning. It is likely that this is a weather event that will last for several days, affecting millions of people here in the U.S. Reports out of Haiti suggest close to 300 may have been killed from this monster storm. Steve Harrigan now in the thick of it. Steve's live in Vero Beach, Florida tonight, East Coast there. And Steve, so far tonight, how is it?
Bill, we've seen the conditions get worse each hour throughout the afternoon and now in the early evening. Right now we're seeing gusts of winds up to 55 miles per hour. That means some small branches down, some trees down as well, and we're getting reports of power outages. At least 25,000 people across Florida without power. The real concern here across the state is a potential direct hit of a Category 4 hurricane. Such a hit, according to the governor, would be absolutely catastrophic. 1.5 million people have been told they have to evacuate their homes. We have been seeing them do that throughout the course of the day. Lines at Home Depot early this morning were 3 hours long, people trying to do that last-minute boarding up. As far as the situation here across the state, more than 130 shelters were open throughout the day, but right now, under these conditions, those shelters are beginning to shut their doors. When the wind gets over 40 miles an hour, bridges begin to close, and pretty soon, when it gets even tougher out here, we'll see a stop to first responders going out. So conditions expected to worsen considerably over the next few hours here. Bill,
Steve, thank you. We'll talk to you throughout the night. Steve Harrigan, Vero Beach. I'm Bill Hemmer. Special hurricane programming tonight, 11 o'clock Eastern time. Hope to see you then. We've got reporters up and down the coast. We will talk to all of them throughout the evening tonight, let you know the very latest on this one. Back to our rally now.
The O'Reilly Factor, the #1 cable news show for 16 years and counting.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly reporting from Washington in the Weekdays with Bernie segment. Tonight, as you may know, ABC Newswoman Martha Raddatz, CNN anchor Anderson Cooper will moderate the second presidential debate on Sunday night in St. Louis. Both Ms. Raddatz and Mr. Cooper have ties to the Democrats, leading some to believe the debate will not be fair. Joining us now from North Carolina, Bernie Goldberg, and you say?
I say that, like most media elite, they're almost certainly not big fans of Donald Trump. But they have to be cognizant of the blowback after Lester Holt's performance in the first debate, where there was a belief, I think a legitimate one, that he was easier on Hillary Clinton than on Donald Trump. At this point, Bill, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say they're going to at least try to be on their best journalistic behavior and play it down the middle. Now, if they abuse my generosity and my faith, then they will have to pay a price, and perhaps I'll be back next week to hammer them.
Well, here's my theory. This presidential election is unlike any of the others in our lifetime because Mr. Trump is seen as a pariah, not an opponent like Mitt Romney or John McCain or President Bush the Younger. He's seen as a pariah, somebody that the press has to attack, almost like Fox News. All right. In order to be responsible journalists, this is the mindset. We have to attack Trump. You can't just ask him a question. You got to try to diminish him because he's so bad, and that's our job, to expose bad people. So that's the mentality that I think is coming in with a lot of these journalists.
I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, Donald Trump certainly provides enough ammunition for that belief, but there is a belief that because he's unlike any other candidate who's ever run, certainly in the modern era, I'll use their words, he is dangerous, he is unhinged, he is a literal danger to the republic, and of course he's Hitler, which is used over and over again. And because of that, you can't be an objective journalist, they say, because objectivity doesn't work this time around. They're wrong. And I'm no Donald Trump fan, but they're wrong to look at it that way. Their job is to present both sides. Let the American people are smart enough to decide.
Right. Even it out. Now, with the folks asking some questions, it's not just going to be the moderators. But here's where the fix is in. The moderators choose the questions from the folks. All right? So it's not like the folks it's extemporaneous. It's not. It's all these questions are decided beforehand. And you know you're going to get questions about the bankruptcy, the tax returns. But I'm curious to see if the emails and other Clinton things are going to come up.
Yeah, you know, I have a feeling, again, getting back to the Lester Holt effect, I think they're going to be very careful about this. Look, the bigger issue to me, Bill, is that in debates like this, at a town hall debate, which is very different from a regular debate.
Yes.
Empathy is a big deal. It matters a lot. Yep. And Hillary Clinton, because she's a professional politician, knows how to convey empathy. She knows that George Burns was right when he said the secret of success is sincerity. And once you learn how to fake that, you got it made. Donald Trump, on the other hand, isn't Mr. Empathy. After the last debate, he said, I may go harder at her this time around. If he does, if he comes up as overbearing, if he comes up as nasty or mean, if he invades her space, I think he's got huge problems.
Yeah, he's got but he feeds off the folks too, and that might be an advantage for Mr. Trump. So we will see. Bernie will be with us on Monday to analyze the debate on Sunday night. We'll be live on Sunday night, by the way, setting it up. Killing Reagan on deck. We'll talk with the actor who plays the president, and the fact or tip of the day, what happens when you lose in life. Fact will be right back from Washington. Back in the book segment tonight, Killing Reagan. Incredibly, the book has sold close to 1.5 million copies, and it's not even out in paperback yet. On Sunday evening, October 16th, the movie Killing Reagan, the movie, will be broadcast on the National Geographic Channel.
Ronnie, where should I leave you be? No, I'm so happy you're here, Mommy. Standing real lonely out there. Well, everything hinges on this debate, but you know, politics is just like show business. You give them a hell of an opening, it goes for a little while, then you give them a big finale. And hopefully run for 8 years. I'm gonna go get to my seat.
The actor who plays President Reagan, Tim Matheson, is excellent. I spoke with him last night. So did you know a lot about Ronald Reagan when he was in office?
I was politically minded. I must say he won me over. And he's the only Republican I ever voted for.
As president?
Yes.
So you're a liberal-minded guy.
Yeah.
And most of Hollywood obviously is. But
pinheads, I think, as you call them, right?
Some of them are pinheads, but some of them aren't. See, we don't mind if you're liberal as long as you're a thinking liberal. Because I'm independent, and I vote for some Democrats if I think they're the best problem solvers. Now, what did Reagan do to win you over?
Reagan was the tonic this country needed at the time. It was in such a financial mess and such an emotional mess that just because of Nixon and all the things, and Carter was a lovely man, but not a great president.
But you voted for Carter.
I did. Okay. I made that mistake, but no, would not have done it again. And I must say that Reagan really was the foundation the country needed and pulled it together, and I was really moved by it.
So you saw how he performed the first 4 years, and that's what we want, open-mindedness. Yeah. When he was shot, do you remember that?
I was surprised at how moved and upset I was, because it was like your grandfather, was taken.
Right.
And it was like, what? Why?
And you didn't know whether he was going to live.
No.
I mean, he went in, and the news reports were almost blacked out. The kid who plays Hinckley really lights out, just like the kid who played Oswald in Killing Kennedy. I didn't know this kid. He's a young actor.
He's spooky.
Yeah. And so is Hinckley.
I've got to do something now to make you understand in no uncertain terms that I am doing all of this for your sake.
And being around Kyle Moore and Rod Lurie kept us apart, kept Kyle isolated as Hinckley throughout the whole movie.
Is that right?
No actors talked to him.
Now the real John Hinckley's running around Williamsburg, Virginia.
I know.
He's out. When you accepted this role to play the president, all right, what was the hardest thing about it?
Not to be trapped by worrying about sounding and moving like Reagan. I mean, I have to do that. You have to do that in the part, but I wanted to explore the emotional and the heart of the man, and that was the most important thing to me.
All set?
I am
now. A bit like him.
That's our only bargaining chip, and you're just giving it away. Well, I don't see it that way.
Reagan was a very closed guy. He didn't.
Very shy.
Yeah, he didn't like to show a lot to anybody but Nancy. And so you had to connect with the actress playing Nancy, Cynthia Nixon.
Yes.
How difficult was that?
Not hard at all.
No?
She's wonderful. She's a wonderful actor. She's an intense listener. So if I change the tone or the inflection of a response or a line to her, I ping, she pongs. You know, she's really remarkable.
I think you are more nervous than I am.
That's how it should be. Break a leg.
I think viewers are going to be surprised because you're not watching Cynthia Nixon after a while, you're watching Nancy Reagan. Same thing with the president.
Very true. Well, thank you. I think she did an excellent job. And it's a less sympathetic role, and she was the bad cop to Reagan's good cop, you know.
Right.
And she gave that to him. She took care of him. And if she didn't like the way somebody was treating him or acting around him or wasn't faithful,
Donald Reagan.
Gone.
Yeah.
Gone.
Now, when your Hollywood pals, your liberal pals, you guys are all sitting around smoking pot, you know, and doing what you did in
It's a
Animal
daily
House.
thing.
Yeah. And you going, well, I'm gonna do Killing Reagan, written by O'Reilly. Do the crosses come out? Do they go like this? Come on, tell me the truth.
I'm wearing garlic now, as a matter of fact.
I mean, did you get any jazz?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, and if anybody did, I just said, you can't act politics. This is not about politics. This is
a good story, right?
It's a great story.
Ronnie, they're coming at you with too much.
They're nervous.
For you?
I'd be crazy if I wasn't, but I want to do this, Mommy. I mean, I can do this.
You know what? And you know him and have worked with him is Tom Hanks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And Tom, when I told Tom I was doing this, he remarked how wonderful the projects were. You know, he worked on Lincoln.
No, he was on Killing Lincoln.
Killing Lincoln.
Yeah.
And
so he was supportive.
Very supportive.
But you know, Hanks is a diabolical man because what he says is that I'll show up on Killing Lincoln, Matheson will show up on Killing Reagan, so O'Reilly doesn't screw it up. See, that's we'll infiltrate.
Depth of evil it is.
Yeah, we'll
I see.
infiltrate and make sure the project is not some crazy right-wing thing. Well, you did a great job, Tim, and you know, I was very pleased when I hired you, even though I said I don't know. But then you know,
Hollywood pinhead, who knows?
You won me over, and I hope you and Miss Nixon get nominated for Emmys because you really deserve it.
Thank
really
you
do.
very much.
All right.
It's fantastic.
Again, Killing Reagan will be shown October 16th, 8 p.m. Sunday night on Nat Geo. Book is available everywhere if you want to get ahead of the game. Factor tip of the day: what happens when you lose in life? The tip, moments away. It's big, but first, after 3 weeks in the marketplace, Killing the Rising Sun approaching 500,000 books sold just in the USA and Canada alone. That huge success is reigniting interest in the other 5 Killing books. So if you sign up or re-up for BillO'Reilly.com premium membership, you get any one of my books free. It's your choice. We hope you check it out. Now the mail, Denise Schaefer, San Diego. Just because President Obama was petty at the Correspondents' Dinner, as long as you're going to paint Donald Trump with the same brush, Bill, you don't know the real reason he decided to run. I know this, Denise. There was no insult directed at Mr. Trump in that segment, and for you to believe there was is perplexing. Lawrence Haran, Pattaya City, Thailand. Can you imagine Trump speaking at that dinner if he becomes president? Will be something to see, Lawrence. Kevin Warner, Los Angeles. I often disagree with what's said on The Factor, but I am 100% sure President Obama's mocking of Trump caused him to run. Donna Mace, Vail, North Carolina. Senator Kaine asked why women shouldn't be trusted on abortion. How can anyone trust a person who waits until the end of a pregnancy to do it? That is a life that can and does feel pain. Joanne Ritea, Whittier, California. O'Reilly, regarding your tip, does describing Senator Kaine as a popinjay make me a zealot? No, it does not, Joanne. Opinions only cross into zealotry when they are hysterical. Melanie Hundley, Port Townsend, Washington. Hey, Bill, just noticed that Dennis Miller is probably more like 8,000 miles away from you in South Africa. Very long plane ride. Yes, it is, Melanie. I've done it. I said 3,000 miles. I was delirious. At Glen, Greenville, North Carolina, Bill, we've just finished Killing Lincoln and Killing the Rising Sun while on a flight to Hong Kong. Made a 15-hour journey. Go quickly. Great reads. No spin. Appreciate it, Ed. Martin Dugard and I write books so you can read them on a plane, listen to them in a car, and make the trip fly by. George Altmeyer, Yardley, Pennsylvania. Killing the Rising Sun is the most riveting of all the Killing books. The brutality of the Japanese is beyond comprehension. Incomprehensible is the right word, George. And finally tonight, the factor tip of the day, losing in America. Donald Trump portrays himself as a winner. We all know that. But if you look at his business model, he is a winner, but he did lose early in his career. Now, last night, the New York Mets lost. They've been my team since 1962, but watching the game, there was no disgrace in the final score, 3-0. San Francisco Giants were simply better. Madison Bumgarner was almost unhittable. So sometimes in life, you're going to lose. I go against Vince Lombardi on this one. Winning is not the only thing. Effort is. Factor tip of the day. And that is it for us tonight. Please check out the Fox News Factor website, different from BillO'Reilly.com. Also, we would like you to spout off about the Factor from anywhere in the world. O'Reilly at FoxNews.com, O'Reilly at FoxNews.com. Name and town if you wish to opine. Word of the day, do not be a pettifogger when writing to the Factor. Tomorrow night we will be live tracking the hurricane up the East Coast, and we'll have a preview of the big debate on Sunday night. Again, thanks for watching us tonight. Bill O'Reilly in Washington. Please always remember, Spin stops here in D.C. We're definitely looking out for you.